Across the Sky is proudly sponsored by Weather Call Services. Don't be caught off guard in severe weather. Choose Weather Call. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Across the Sky, our National Lee Enterprises weather podcast. I'm meteorologist Sean Sublette at the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and today I actually get to sit right next to Joe Martucci from the Press of Atlantic City. How's it going, Joe?
It's going great. I'm glad we're sharing the same mic here for a change. Usually we're all on Zoom recording this, but it's good to be with you, and I'm a little sad that we're leaving the conference.
I know. For those of you who weren't aware, Joe and I have been at the American Meteorological Society Annual Meeting, and this is a thing they have every year, and there's 15 or 16 different conferences going on at once. We checked with the president of the AMS. There are 7,100 people registered. Now, some of those are online, but that's a lot of weather, folks.
That's a lot of people. I mean, this is like Disney World for meteorologists. I mean, anything you want to know about weather, you can do here. So whether it's about, modeling, what we're doing with communications, you can get into real nitty gritty stuff. Like, this is the place.
There are some, you can go in a whole bunch of different directions. And I've been in several talks all this week. We're bugging out here today in Baltimore on the harbor at the convention center. But let me ask you this, Joe. Are there one or two things that kind of stuck with you from the sessions you were at and things that you kind of learned?
Well, there was one specific talk that I thought was really interesting. We were talking about a little bit too about this heat risk map that the National Weather Service is going to come out with. And I think it's important for everyone listening because as a weather enterprise, we're moving, I would say, away from pushing the technical stuff to the public and more making it impact-based.
Yes.
So, if you can see a map that says, hey, in New Jersey, it's a code orange, for heat, that's important. That might mean something more than the heat index is 102 degrees right now. So they're actually rolling out a national program with this where it's going to take into account the climate that you live in, as well as the societal impacts of what's going on. Because as we know, a heat wave in New Jersey is not the same as a heat wave in Texas or in Florida or in Maine. So that was actually one thing that really stuck out. And then two, this is just a broader thing. I mean, the camaraderie here is so great. It kind of reminds me of like freshman year of college where you're just like, you kind of know people, but everyone's like really friendly. It's like, hey, do you want to like do this? And you're like, sure. And then, it's like, hey, I'm going to get people together to go to dinner. You want to come? And all these people come together, and it's like a lot of people you see online, and then you meet them in real life, and it's just so cool to be with everybody. And if you're an extrovert, this is like this is the place for you. I'll flip the question on you, Sean, though. Yeah. I mean, and you've gone to many AMS conferences. Was there anything in this particular conference that you think was different than what you saw, in years past?
So the last annual meeting I was at was 2020, right before everything shut down.
Where we met each other, was that the first time we met each other?
It might have been the first time in person, and that was in Boston at the same time of year in 2020. But the thing that I took from this particular conference or this particular meeting, I went to several workshops or town halls or whatever about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and how that is going to impact weather forecasting. And I got to tell you, the individuals who are talking about this, they are very excited about this work. And one of the things that really stuck with me is they really believe it's going to be a paradigm shift in how we do weather forecasting in the next 2 or 3 years, which is phenomenal. Now, to give you an idea, when we do forecasting now, it's called numerical weather prediction. Basically, we have a bunch of equations that are physics and thermodynamics. We solve the equations, we understand the physical relationships, and we get a forecast. Where this is different. It's like the machine, the code gets written, the machine starts to learn some of these relationships on its own, and then it can produce some kind of forecast that is partially based on statistics and partially based on physical understanding. And that really would be a game changer. I mean, one of the things that really I worry about is because there's so many different ways to do this, so many private companies who are doing this, and that's great, it's innovative, I like that. But if everybody starts selling their AI forecast, and you've got 25 different, 35, 45 different AI forecasts, what's the public generally going to accept? And then worse, are there going to be issues with trust? And who's responsible if the forecast is very bad? The warning process, the weather service, the government weather service, its mission is to save life and property. And is that the mission of these people doing the AI? I mean, I'm sure it's not that they don't care, but
well, they're a business. They need to make money, right? Yes. And I think what we should all realize that all of the computer, I don't want to say all, but most of the major computer models that we're looking at are from government sources, so they're public by nature here. The European model, even for a while, you had to pay for it. Now it's more, I think is it all free at this point?
I don't think it's all free. I mean, I think there's a lot of public-facing stuff that is free nowadays, but I mean, that's a consortium, right? They specifically had a lot of European corporate kind of money to put that together. And, people talk about, well, why is the European so much better? And it's actually data assimilation, meaning how they get data into the start of their model. It's just generally better than what we've been doing here in the States. But
I want to jump in on that too, because I think what we've also failed to realize is that the European model is the ECMWF, medium range weather forecasting. Right. Us Americans, we got all kinds of models. We have the GFS, which is the medium range, but we also have something called the NAM model, which will allow you to see what's happening hour by hour up to 60 hours, or it's hour by hour up to 24 hours, and it goes out to 60 hours, and then the HRRR, which is supposed to show you thunderstorm level based forecasts, which the European model isn't always doing. Someone explained it to me this way, and I'll end with this. Like, let's say the Europeans had $100 and we had $100. European take their $100, put it all in the ECMWF, that medium range weather forecasting. We'll take like $70 of that, put that into the GFS, which is that medium 3 to 14 day range forecasting. But then we take $20 and make this shorter range model, and then we take another $10 and we make that HRRR, which is supposed to forecast thunderstorm development and really what we call mesoscale things like sea breezes, like a thunderstorm, like where you're seeing some, maybe coastal enhancement of rain or things like that. So it's not just as cut and dry as European versus GFS, but there's some intricacies to it. We should also talk about our talk.
Yes. We came here and presented as well, so that was good. We did a talk about 18 months ago at the Broadcaster Conference, but this conference, I think, was the 12th conference on the future of weather forecasting applications or something. So we just wanted to bring people in this community up to date about what we're doing, because it is a little bit different. There's nobody doing it, to my knowledge, quite this way with 4 different weather people across the entire country, focusing on whether weather's especially bad on any given day. And there was and we had a lot of good response to that. So I was very pleased with that.
Sean's being nice. The place was packed. We had overflow. We had people standing in the back looking to see not only us but the other people.
It was a good feeling.
In the session. It was a good feeling. It definitely pumped our tires up for a little bit. But what was really cool with that, and everyone listening here, to Sean's point, we're doing something that really isn't done in this space. But where we got a lot of positive response was from the students.
Yes.
We had a couple students that came up to us after the talk and was asking us questions about digital. I mean, students are where the future's at. We have our digital meteorology seal now with the AMS. It's a professional certification for people like us working in the space to let you know that, hey, these people are legit when they're talking about weather online. And the students had really good reception. They like what they're doing because it's something different. When comparing us to broadcast, you watch television, turn it on the news, and it's maybe 12 or 15 live hits, in a day. What we're able to do is roll all those up to 1 or 2 videos in a day and use that other time to do this Across the Sky podcast, or do our snow search that Sean and I do, our hurricane hunt, or write a story for you about something that's happened in your area. So what we're doing is different. The response from the youth is good. And there's going to be more of this as we go in the future. And Sean and I are kind of just riding the wave. Kirsten and Matt too. We're all kind of riding the wave right now.
And a big thanks to them for what they're doing, holding down the fort while we're over here, because it's a lot going on. We'll take a quick break, and then I want to talk to you about a couple of the other interesting people you met and who we might try to get on the podcast later on this year. So stay with us. We'll be right back with more on the Across the Sky podcast. Hey, everyone. Across the Sky is proudly sponsored by Weather Call Services. Don't be caught off guard by severe weather. Choose Weather Call. Get precise, location-specific alerts via phone, text, or email. With over a decade of experience, Weather Call delivers pinpoint accuracy for your exact address, ensuring no surprises. Take charge and stay prepared when ominous skies loom. Explore the Weather Call difference today. Visit weathercallservices.com/Lee Enterprises and safeguard yourself, your business, or any school that matters to you. You can also find that link in our Across the Sky show notes, weathercallservices.com/Lee Enterprises. And we're back on the Across the Sky podcast. I'm meteorologist Sean Sublette, along with meteorologist Joe Martucci.
Yes, sir.
He's our certified digital meteorologist #1, as awarded by the American Meteorological Society. You know, we met a lot of cool people here who are in different aspects of what we call the weather enterprise. Did anybody else kind of strike with, kind of stick out in your head who you might like to grab?
Well, we met some of your friends from Dominion Energy in Virginia from the power company. They're going to come on soon to talk about literally, using weather forecasting to help the power grid. We all like our power to come when we want it, how we want it. So that's always really important. It's guys taking a step back. Like there's so many legends of the field who are here. You can just go up and talk with them, and it's great. Like we went to dinner with Jason Samino, who was the original digital meteorologist from Capital Weather Gang at the now Washington Post. He had his own website first. And, to hear, I think hearing from him is really important because he, first of all, one of the first people to do it, if not the first, but also working for a national, digital newsroom, newspaper operation. He has a really good finger on the pulse of what's happening in our space. So I think that's really cool to hear from him. That's I always enjoy chatting with him when he's there.
Yeah.
How about you, Sean?
So a colleague of mine from grad school, Jan Dutton, he's very big in what we call sub-seasonal and seasonal forecasts, 3 to 4 week forecasts. What's it going to look like, or 6 to 8 weeks in advance. And there is some skill in that. It's not highly precise, but there's definitely some skill in that. Where we could say, it looks like it's going to be a lot below normal in 2 or 3 weeks, that kind of stuff. So we're hoping to have him on to talk about, because it links back to those oscillations that you and I talk about on snow surge, the North Atlantic oscillation, the Arctic oscillation, the Pacific North American pattern. All those things have some predictability because they're just waves.
Yeah.
So what we're actually trying to forecast is how waves move through the atmosphere. And that can give you some kind of idea of what the weather is going to be like in this medium range forecast. And if you know the right wave structure, that can give you a winter storm. Wow, now we're on to something.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to have Jan on sometime too.
Hey, also real quick, Craig Setzer from
Oh
Royal
my
Caribbean.
gosh, yes.
That's really cool. So I was shocked. There are no cruise companies except for Royal Caribbean and hire a meteorologist. And here's Craig working in Miami, get to go on all the cruise ships and forecast there. I mean, life's pretty good for him.
Yeah, Craig Setzer used to work on the air in Miami, but this has only been in the last year that he started to work for Royal Caribbean. And, we have a colleague, Emily Gracie. She also has a podcast. Check that out. It's called Off the Radar. She talked to Craig Setzer. But I'd love to get Craig back on here because he's expanding. So I think it's kind of a shame it's taken this long, but I think a lot of the cruise lines see the value where they can save money, reduce their risk.
Yep.
So it'd be great to have Craig on. So, energy, meteorology. My friend Rob Eicher, who I haven't seen in a long time.
Rob Eicher.
He is a meteorologist at Embry-Riddle down in Florida. I want to get him to come in and talk about aviation meteorology. What does the flying public need to understand better about when the weather is bad? Sometimes it's dangerous and you don't want to get on a plane.
Right.
So sometimes, I'm as frustrated as anybody when a plane is late. And if it's mechanical, then I'm especially frustrated. But I also know sometimes there's there's big thunderstorms around. It's like, I don't want to be going up in that tube
No.
when I've got 40, 50,000 foot thunderstorm times
Right.
jumping around.
Right.
So it will, hopefully we can have Rob on sometime as well.
Totally. Well, I think that's it, Sean.
Yeah,
I think we're good.
So this is a shorter podcast this week. So thank you to everybody who listens, subscribes. It means a lot to us, and we're going to keep doing this as long as they let us do it, because we want to peel back the curtain on what it's like getting the weather information out to the public.
Absolutely. Well, Sean, it was great seeing you in person, my man. It was a long time coming. It's been a while since we saw each other in person, so I thank you for your wisdom and expertise, and you allowing me to network with some of your network that you've built up over the past couple of decades. Because Sean is a well-known person in the American Meteorological Society community, so if I'm able to just take like a piece of that from you, I'm very appreciative for that. So,
Well,
thanks, man.
it's important to pay it forward. It's important to pay it because I'm not going to be here forever. And
got a long way ahead of you.
real quick before we go, I want to also give a special shout out to John Tui Morales, who was elevated to honorary member. And that kind of sounds like honorary member, but that's actually member with honors. He has done so much for the weather community. He's from Puerto Rico, and he's been a mentor to several Puerto Rican meteorologists, a Spanish-speaking community, and he's just done phenomenal work. So it was good to see him recognized for the work that he has been doing.
Totally. All right, now let's really wrap it up.
We will talk to you next week. As always, we appreciate everybody listening to the Across the Sky podcast.
Thank you, and I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci. He's Sean Sublette. We will see you next Monday. Remember, new episodes come out every Monday wherever you get your podcasts.